Hello there. Today what we're going to discuss is about pivot table and pivot chart. And we might be adding something else after this. So let's proceed. This is our data, for example. We have how many columns here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so pivot table is an interactive way to summarize and organize complex data. When you say complex data, it contains many fields, many rows. It can be thousands of rows. But since this is just an example, we have here until this particular row. It can keep, on going and going until infinity, of course. But anyway, there is a limit in Excel. But it can go, until 500 or thousands of rows there. All right, so uh, we are going to insert a pivot table by selecting all the fields except the date column. So basically in pivot table, we are extracting a particular data from the data set, okay? And look for patterns, for example, summarize it, organize it in a way, in a manner that we want to, or it depends on what is our requirement actually. So basically you can have, your own requirement. So it depends on you. So you can keep on changing the fields later. So let me show you how to do it. So the first thing you're going to do is to select the whole data set. So the technique is just to select the first row and key in or press Control Shift Enter. Okay, or Control Shift arrow down. So Control Shift and arrow down is the arrow after or to the right of Control and to the left of 0 in your keyboard. Okay. So something like this. So find this in your keyboard. Control Shift arrow down. This is to select the whole table automatically because there might be so many rows here and it's difficult to do it manually. Of course, if it is just a small table like this, we can do it manually like so. Okay, so just going to select the first row, Control Shift arrow down. It's going to highlight the whole data and insert. The first one is the pivot table. So when you click on insert, the first is the pivot table and click OK. So you won't be messing up the whole file. When you click OK, it will take you to a different sheet, a new worksheet actually. Okay. So first read the instruction. You're just going to select all the titles except the date, and you're going to filter Alice Johnson's details and copy to a different sheet and rename it as Alice, and the region and salesperson only should be under the rows. So click OK. So you can see here a blank data table. So what you're going to do is to select all except the date. So we can untick the date later also. You can, if from the beginning, don't select that. So you can go back there, for example. It's mentioned that we're going to exclude the date column. So this is the date, untick it. And as mentioned that only the region and the salesperson will be under the rows. So we have to transfer the product there. But in reality, it's up to you. You can put product here, salesperson there, for example. It's up to you. You can put the region there, for example. Of course, your table will change. Okay, so that's it. Now, let's go back there. We have to put back our region here, salesperson and product we have to put there. All right, so the next is to filter. As mentioned here, you're going to filter Alice Johnson's details. So how to filter? First, look at the data and see where is Alice? Alice belongs to what? Well, if you are confused or if it's difficult to find, you can highlight the whole table, for example, and conditional formatting, highlight text that contains Alice, for example. Okay, so you can see that Alice is under salesperson. Okay, because sometimes it is somewhere, maybe it could be in 345 or 345th row, for example. So it's difficult to find. In this case, it's easy because we have a small table, and the first also is Alice. All right, so we can see that Alice is under salesperson. So salesperson is the field, it's under that. So it means the salesperson, we have to drag this one under filters. Okay, so drag it there and you can put it back later. So salesperson, we need Alice only. So when you drag this one there, you can see here salesperson all. So you have to open this drop down arrow and select only Alice because it's all by default. We have Alice, Bob, and so on. So select Alice, okay? So now this is Alice already. You see that Alice have 3 regions here, north, south, and west. Okay, so Alice is a salesperson. That means she's sold in these regions, north, south, and west. If you're going to go back to all, it's going to include, all now, right? Okay, so again, select Alice, okay, and then copy this. You can see here, salesperson Alice, copy and plus Control V, and to adjust, select this triangle, select all, and double click. It will be adjusted automatically. So this is for Alice. Okay, so rename this as Alice. And this one, we have to put it back. Salesperson, we have to put it back because this is the answer of the first question. Now let's look at our data, for example. Here you can see that we have here our salesmen or salespeople. We have the total sum of revenue, total sum of units. Okay, let's look at one data, for example. Okay, North, for example, there are 3 there. Okay, Alice, Bob, and Charlie. You could see here the total, for example. Okay, this one for North, we have 480. Okay, widget A for this people. So that means only Alice there. Bob, nothing. Charlie, nothing. So 480 is for Alice. So the total is 480 in the North. And here for widget B, this is widget B, for example, these are the apps or product. 80, the total is 80 for the North because Alice is 0, Charlie is 0. Here the total is 350, only Charlie. Okay, here only Alice, 9,600, and so on. Okay, so it's also adding the SN, so that is useless anyway. Okay, it is by default. All right, here we have 350, 80, and 480. That is 910. So all of them, have these because this is the total. So as you can see, all of them have the values because total sum of units sold. So we talk about the units. So total units 910. For 3 of them in the North. And total revenues, we have these 9,600 for Alice, 2,400 for Bob, and 17,000 500 for Charlie. The total is 29,500. Okay? So by default, it is adding the values. And similarly for the South, we have the total, and total revenue for the South is 19,600. You can highlight this. Total revenue for the North. This is for the East. This is for the West. Okay. And this is 70,900 is the grand total. We're going to select these. You can see that the total sum here is 70,900. That is adding the East, which is 10,000. The North is 29,500. Then this is the South. This is the West. Total is 70,900. And this is the total units sold, 2,260. We have 350. East, 910. North, 550. South, 450. Here, West. So if we're going to select these, you can see the total is 2,260, which is correct. So that is how to, understand this particular table. And as I said, you can keep on, switching these fields here and there. It will change the table, and it will change, of course, the display, and somehow it will change the meaning. Okay. So it's up to you in reality which one you're going to display. You can keep on switching these fields here and there. Okay, let's proceed to the second question. You're going to insert pivot table and pivot chart by selecting all the fields except the date and region columns. And we're going to change the total revenue to average revenue. Okay, so again, we have to select the whole table. I'm just going to select the first row, Control Shift arrow down and insert. Since we have here a pivot chart, we are not going to select this. We have to select the one in the middle. Okay, and the second one, pivot chart and pivot table. And click OK. First, try to understand, except the date and region. And revenue should be changed to average. So here is our chart. This is our table. So I'm going to select all except the date and the region. Okay, SN I'm going to include. So date, region will not be included. Let me review again. Here, except the date and the region. So date and region are not ticked. And by default, all those with values will be under values, like the sum of units, sum of revenues. Salesperson, product, these are actually qualitative. So it will be here or there. We can also transfer the product there if you want. It will be looking better actually. Okay, it's not mentioned here. Okay, I just said select all the fields except date and region columns. So it's up to you. Okay, we can transfer the product there or transfer the product here, salesperson there. And even you can, expand this. Okay, so assuming I'm going to put a salesperson here and the product there, it will look like this somehow. Okay, it's up to you how you're going to display the data, or you can just display it like this. For widget A, we have this. And you can also exclude the SN if you want to. SN is just serial number. Okay. So this is actually looking good. I transferred the product there. So now we have, the data or the graph showing as per the salesperson. Alice is here, Bob, Charlie, and Diane. Okay, and here you can see the legend. The purple is widget A, okay, for revenue, and this is for the units sold. right? So these are the legend here, and as mentioned, we have to change the actually our revenue as an average. So what we're going to do is that we're going to just go there. This is the revenue. By default, as mentioned, this will be total sum. All the values will be expressed in sums. So we can open this drop down arrow here for revenue and value field settings, change to average. There are other measures there like standard deviation. So usually we need average, maximum, sum. In this case, we have to select the average, okay? So now these are average revenues, as you can see here, okay? So the purple one here is the average revenue of Diane, okay? And this is the average revenue of Charlie. And you can go to the layout, actually design, if you want to see the values here. So click on design, layout, number 5. Number 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see here the values. So for the average revenue, for example, 185717. So the highest one is actually Alice, 1857. Okay, 1700 here. Bob, there is no revenue average. Okay, what happened there? Let's filter Bob here, for example. Okay, this is column H. That means it's very low compared to others. That's why it looks like it's disappearing here. Okay. And some other values there are missing for Charlie, because this one talks about the widget A only. So if we're going to uh, check this, we have to select both of these columns, okay? Okay, or we can just, because it's merged already, we can filter this, okay? Bob, for example, as you can see, Bob has no widget A. We have B, C, B, C, B only. So that's the reason why here you could see that the average revenue of widget A for Bob is blank here. So this is actually 0. Okay, so it means that Bob did not sell anything for this particular product. Okay, similarly here for Charlie, there is no sum for the widget B. And here you could see that there is no average for widget B of Charlie. Same here for Bob. As you can see here, 0 units for widget A, and that is why it's blank here, the average revenue of widget A. So that's the reason why. Okay, so this is really very good. In a few seconds, we're able to display our table, our graph, which is really very, very powerful. So I advise that you use pivot table from time to time. It's going to help you summarize, organize large data sets. Okay, in a few seconds. Let's calculate or solve the answer here. Number 3, this is an extra. You're going to count how many transactions are in east, north, and so on. So what we're going to do, if you're going to count, this is the region, right? So we're going to count how many east, how many north, and so on. So we just have to select all the cells opposite, equals count if, because we have one criterion per row. First is east and so on. And fx, okay, we select the region because these are all regions. So we select the region. And criteria, we're going to select all of these criteria here on the left. Since this is hidden, because there's no space, you start selecting from the bottom, going up until the last. See to it that you are selecting until the first, and then Control Shift Enter. Okay, so 6, 11, 10, and so on. You can get the sum here of these values, 33. Let's check if there are 33 transactions. Yes, the count is 33, so this is correct. Right, so I hope that's clear. Thank you so much for watching. This is about the pivot table, pivot chart, and including the Countif, trying to count the frequencies of every region. You can also check whether this is correct by selecting the East. 6 should be there. Filter and East, you could see that the answer is correct. We have 6 transactions in this particular region. Okay, so until the next time, bye-bye. We will have the other exercises in the next session.